Even before COVID, I was researching the Sober Curious movement and reading about gray area drinking. While I didn't identify as a problem drinker, like many of you, I did feel that during COVID, my on-off switch was malfunctioning. There are many resources out there. There's websites, there's apps, there's social media groups that all cater to people who want to improve their relationship with alcohol. But there was one in particular that caught my eye and really drew me in, and it's called Sober Sis, and it was founded by Jenn Kautsch. And Jenn really spoke to me in very relatable terms. And the journey to examine how you want to approach the process is not one of perfection, but just that, it's a journey. Where I landed is in the space of moderation. Others decide they want to quit alcohol altogether. One thing is for sure, I wasn't going to accomplish all my goals, work my full-time job, and do this podcast if I was going to be foggy from drinking wine. I'm excited to say in this episode, you are going to meet my friend, Jenn Kautsch. Health, wellness, career, family, life, and the better side of 50. I'm your host, Michele Folan, and this is Asking for a Friend. Hello, listeners. I am really excited about today's interview. When our guest was in her 40s, she started to do some reassessing of her life and wanted to make some positive changes, which included her relationship with alcohol. Research and her own journey led her to starting a female-focused program to help other women who were sober curious like she was. What's resulted is a sisterhood of over 20,000 women who have had a safe space to renegotiate their relationship with alcohol. Welcome, Sober Sis founder, Jenn Kautsch.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. I really am. This is really great for me and for a lot of reasons. I'm so happy you agreed to do the show. And I also want to say right out front that I did go through Jenn's 21-day reset program back in 2020 because I too wanted to address the impact that alcohol was having in my life. This was during COVID. We were drinking every night, and I got really sick and tired of being foggy all the time. I'm just so grateful for your platform. First of all, just tell everybody a little bit more about yourself.
My name is Jenn. I live in North Texas. I live in Fort Worth, actually. Married my college sweetheart. So we've been married 27 years. I have 2 adult kids, ages 24, a girl who's 24 and a son who's 22. So we're new empty nesters. We're kind of in this new life stage. And we thought we'd really shake it up in these empty nester years and just got a puppy. So I'm kind of taking a step backwards there.
Oh, yeah, we did 2 puppies in the last year. I totally get it. Yeah, nothing like having freedom and then not having freedom again.
That's pretty much what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I hear you. Your journey is very relatable with this topic, and I would love for you to share it because I know once I heard your story, I knew I wanted to be part of this.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, Michele, in my 40s is when I really took some inventory of my life. It was about my mid-40s. I think everyone starts to feel, no matter what decade you're in, you start to realize you're in the middle of it. And did you like how you started it? And do you want to end it the same way? For me, I had just come out of what I like to call a wilderness time, if you will. It was a challenging time in my life. It wasn't all bad, but it sure was a challenge. And that was years 40 to 45 for me. Really raising teenagers during that time. My daughter was 13 to 18. So you can kind of do the math. Those 5 years were just a lot for me to navigate as a mom in a new life stage. And I just found myself taking what had once been social, the fun way to go out with the girls. And that's when I really noticed my relationship with drinking shift. It's like it went into a altogether different gear, and it became more of a coping mechanism for stress, anxiety, sometimes boredom for sure. And really, quite honestly, I've gotten to become pretty familiar with the Enneagram and my personality, and I don't really enjoy conflict. I'm not sure who does. There are a few people out there that really love to spar and bring it on. I myself am not that person. I found myself when I did start to feel conflict arising with the teens and my husband's personality, I found myself a little bit lost. And I found myself wanting to dial it back, suppress down the emotions, the anxiety, and find something that would help me feel relaxed, chilled out, and almost to the point, even numb
Yeah.
to the incredible amount of emotions that were surging inside, but I didn't always know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was that made me want to reevaluate. I was in what you've heard me call, I'm sure, the detox to retox loop. And it was a vicious cycle where I was the working out, fit mom, mindful mom, get her done mom and wife in person throughout the day, super on top of my game, to the point that by the time it was 5 o'clock, my good intentions from 10 o'clock that morning flew out the window, like out of the car or something. While I was making my last grocery store run, I'd end up picking up a bottle of wine just so I could have a glass while I was cooking. And I don't know if you can relate. I'm sure your listeners can. Once I bought it, it was as well as gone because I knew that once I opened it, it would be incredibly difficult to just have one glass at 5 o'clock.
And I know we've all done this. We've opened a bottle of wine and gone back at 8 o'clock. It's either gone or almost gone.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll just leave an inch in the bottom just so we feel better about ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
What is it about 5 o'clock, Jenn?
It's a lot of things going on. I've really analyzed and studied. Like you said, there's a lot of research that goes into habits and cravings and routines and why we do what we do. Did you know? I think this is so interesting that our brains are so trained with the reward of dopamine that we get a dopamine hit just from opening the cabinet and pulling out the glass. So our body is already responding to the perceived reward before we even put it in our body. So that's the kind of cravings you're fighting against out there. Unless you really understand them and have the right tools to combat them, it is very difficult because willpower and good intentions really don't work long term. I mean, I could white knuckle it for a night or two or a few weeks or a whole 30 or a 10-day juice cleanse. I could white knuckle it all the way through. But it's always about built up pressure and this sense of release. And I think that's what's happening at 5 o'clock for so many of us that are so mindful by day, that are juicing our kale at lunch. And then in the very same kitchen on the same island, opening the bottle of Pinot Grigio. It's the release. It's that I'm tired of being good. I'm tired of being right. I'm tired of overthinking. I'm tired of serving other people all day. This is me time. It's my time. It's my reward. Back off, everybody. At least mom can have a glass of wine. It's like my one thing that I do for myself, you know?
Yep.
Which now, knowing what I know about alcohol and true self care, I see it as totally the opposite now. Like at 5 o'clock, why would I start rewarding myself with something that takes my presence away, is going to cause me regret later, even physically undoing what I've done that day? But in the moment, it felt like self care, it felt like a reward. And I think that's the pull.
How long did it take for you to totally cut alcohol out?
I would say I tried, and this is actually pretty average out there, until I completely cut alcohol out. I tried moderating and drinking on and off for over 6 years.
Wow.
I mean, I really could not burn the ships to take the island until I really got to the point where the thought of staying in the loop, in the detox retox loop was more painful than any of the uncomfortable things that I was going to have to go through to change this habit. At one point, the lines crossed. Staying the same or playing the same game for me in my mind, the mental chatter was worse than ripping off the band-aid and really going in and taking a deeper look at my life and going into the root of why I was drinking in the first place.
When I do my reading, I hear so much about the moderation piece
Mm-hmm.
and how much harder that is sometimes than just altogether giving it up.
I personally agree with that. And I work with women who want to drink less or not at all. And I really hold space for that sober, curious person and a person that is really in that gray area drinking zone where they're not sure if they want to cut it out completely. I think when women take the 21-day reset challenge like you took, it's not to sign up for an abstinence forever program. It really is to truly take a break, hit the reset button, and then never look at alcohol the same. That's really my goal for that first step, is just to not look at alcohol the same. But I think for me and many, many others that I've worked with and that you might know as well, is just moderation is possible until it's not, is what I found. I could moderate until I couldn't. And I never really knew when that was going to be. Was it just going to be one night where I just got tired of the rules that it took to moderate, the accountability that it would take to moderate, and quite honestly, we're really dealing with a substance. Let's talk about the substance itself for a second. This is not a moral failure. This is not like something's wrong with you for wanting to drink when you're drinking, because drinking itself creates a thirst for itself. We're trying oftentimes to moderate a substance that doesn't really want to be moderated. It itself creates more desire for itself. So it's very difficult to moderate. Again, is it possible? Yes. I would say for most people that are trying to moderate, there's already a point where you've kind of crossed a line, neuro pathway wise, where that is pretty rutted in and you're going up against your brain's hard wiring. For people that don't really care about alcohol, they're kind of drinking it here and there, maybe at a wedding, maybe at a toast. They're not moderating alcohol because it hasn't become valuable to them. But once alcohol has become valuable, like for me, it was valuable. I'm going to protect it. I'm going to guard it. I'm going to kind of make sure I have it. I'm going to manage it. It was a thing in my life that I attributed a lot of value to. Once you've gotten into that relationship with alcohol, unless you devalue it, it's very hard to moderate something that you value that's addictive.
Right. And when you think about the moderation piece, it has to be incredibly intentional. You have to plan. For instance, on Saturday night, I'm going to a wedding and I have to think about how I want to feel the next day.
Mm-hmm.
As I go to the wedding, will my first drink be a glass of wine? No. I will do something that's hydrating and whatever, because I have stuff that I need to do on Sunday. Your term of playing it forward
Mm-hmm.
is something that has really stuck with me, because in the moment, it's easy to get wrapped up in the fun and the festivities. When I'm at this wedding, I'm already thinking about 3:30 in the morning when I wake up and I feel like hell and I can't fall back to sleep.
Right. Right.
That takes time, effort, and energy to have those thoughts
Right.
always going in your head. That's the difference between, I think, moderation and just totally stopping your drinking. Now, I told you before we got on the call, I don't drink during the week,
Mm-hmm.
but I do on the weekends. That was my compromise I made.
Yeah.
Now, I may eventually give it up altogether. We'll see, but I haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I'm
Yeah.
relatively early in this. Let's talk, Jenn, about what's happening with our sleep with alcohol, because I know you have women that don't always get that immediate They quit drinking and all of a sudden they're sleeping like a baby, right?
Yeah, and usually it takes, I was just reading again because I'm always trying to remind myself of the science, the research that really helps me a lot if I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm that kind of person that before I understood the science, it was just all the motion versus no, wait, there's something really happening in here in my body, chemically speaking. So it does take at least a solid week or so to begin to get that circadian rhythm back. So I would say in someone's first 7 to 10 days of taking a break from alcohol or eliminating it for that amount of time, there's a lot of changes going on in someone's body because it takes about 7 to 10 days to get alcohol and the effects of alcohol out of your system. Most people don't go 7 to 10 days. So that even if you're not drinking during the week, but you're drinking on the weekend, it's still within the craving loop. That's just good to know. And so after about 10 days, the physical cravings really do practically go away and subside from a physical standpoint. But the sleep is one of the first things people want results on because we're so sleep deprived when we are drinking because of the chemical cocktail that's mixed in our body with this really artificial, what kind of feels like a stimulant, but it's really a depressant, right? So we drink and we feel this euphoria, the buzz, right, that we're all wanting and chasing. I was a chaser. I just chased that buzz till I just had to quit and call it a day and try again tomorrow, or it was over. But chasing that buzz creates this alternative chemical effect, which is everything that goes up must come down. And that coming down is what wakes us up at that 3 a.m. wake up call. It's a chemical in our bodies called dynorphin, which is the opposite of this dopamine spike. It's like, oh, and then we wake up at the notorious 3 a.m. wake up call with additional anxiety, maybe a little bit of a racing heartbeat. It's the cortisol is also pumping through your body, which is the stress hormone, which is certainly not what you were feeling while you were drinking. It's the counter response. Think about everything that you're feeling while you're drinking and then flipping it on its head, and that's what you're going to experience after drinking.
Yep.
It's kind of brutal.
It is brutal. And everything you're saying, I'm like, yep, yep, check off
Yep.
that box. Yep, been there. Yep, done that.
Yep.
And it's super frustrating. Also, let's talk about the vanity piece and all this. How much weight did you lose when you finally stopped drinking?
It took me 2 or 3 months, quite honestly, to start to feel like the weight really started coming off. The sugar cravings were intense at the beginning, so I found myself eating more desserts, more chocolate, and I was like, you know what, Jenn? You get a pass, girl. Green light go for just, I didn't try to really like reel in my workout and my diet while I was freshly not drinking and learning about drinking because it really was my goal just to just work on that. But by the time I'd had several weeks under my belt, then I was sleeping good. I was feeling energy. So now I want to work out. Now I'm working out without a hangover. And what I mean by hangover is just even that brain fog. I think too many times we look at a hangover as just debilitating, but really there's a spectrum of hangovers as well. Just like there's a spectrum of drinking, there's a spectrum of hangovers. I had wicked hangovers, and then I had hangovers that were like, "Oh, I just don't feel 100%. But I could still go to a 90-minute Bikram yoga class. So it's relative. But yeah, so once I started getting out of that detox retox and just kept with the detox throughout the day into the evening, into just this lifestyle, then the weight did start dropping off. And I would say just primarily it was a lead domino, but I lost about 15 pounds
Yeah, that's fantastic.
from just not drinking without making huge other abrupt changes. But it took 2 or 3 months for my metabolism to really ignite and for my sugar cravings to stabilize and kind of subside. And but yeah, I totally felt it.
Yeah, at night when I'm making dinner, I'll have something that's got a little sugar in it because
Mhm.
maybe a little cranberry juice and some sparkling water or whatever, just to make sure I'm addressing that sugar craving that I get because I'm not drinking alcohol. So I think you have to listen to your body. And if you want a little bit of sugar, just go ahead and have it because it's not going to hurt you. I think alcohol is also inflammatory, which people don't
Mhm.
get. I can tell you that I have arthritis in my thumbs,
Mhm.
always much worse if I've had alcohol the night before.
Totally.
Yeah. People don't understand sometimes that some of that bloating isn't necessarily weight per se, it's fluid that you're retaining
Mhm.
because of the inflammatory effects of alcohol. I know you talk a little bit about being connected, being dialed in with relationships. And then there's also the intimacy piece. Can you address that, Jenn?
Oh, I can. I can for sure. In fact, in my AFL alcohol free lifestyle course, I have a section in there on sober sex, on intimacy. We're keeping it real right now, and that's a real issue because I know for me, with my husband, drinks were a part of our intimate routine. It was like date night drinks. It made me feel almost kind of a false sense of closeness when really, when I look at it, if I'm sitting across from someone and we're both drinking a liquid that is numbing our brains, it's like kind of an anesthetic, let's call it, like kind of it's anesthetizing. You're actually getting further and further away from the actual essence of the person as they get further and further away from themselves. I really found that intimacy when I was drinking was quite honestly more on a surface level. And it tricked me into feeling like it was a deeper level. But it was really for me, and I'm just again talking from personal experience, it was less me truly showing up as my aligned, wholehearted self. It was a version of me showing up that was probably most disconnected from myself. So it's very difficult to connect with others when you're literally disconnecting from yourself. And so that's how I view the intimacy piece is I want to be the most present in my own mind and body before I can even try to be present and connect with other people.
Uh, yeah, you're speaking my language. I'm going to say it. Sex is better sober.
I agree.
I will go to the mat with anyone that wants to have that argument with me, but it is. And I even told my daughters that.
It's different. And the quantity may go down, but the quality can go up because to me, intimacy is connection, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. And if I have taken a substance that locks off access to those parts of me, and all that's left is me physically, and even that's not all there, then I have to question what am I really doing? Even if I'm doing more of it, I'm really not having the quality connection I'm looking for.
Yep. And I think that quality connection goes with our kids, our friends as well, right?
I agree.
We go to these outings with our friends and I listen more, I engage more, I don't worry about saying something stupid.
Right. Right. You can kind of relax and focus on other people. Whereas when I was drinking, I found myself more focused on what I was saying the right thing, not saying too much, just kind of regulating myself.
Not slurring.
Yeah, constant regulation and thinking about the next drink,
Right.
like pacing myself with everyone around me. I managed to find friends that drank like me so we could just all order around the same amount,
Oh, sure.
same time.
Absolutely.
Not a problem.
So I told you, yeah, I went to a friend's gathering here recently and I show up with my Yeti full of my soda and cranberry and some squeezed lime. Sometimes people ask me what I have in there, and if they ask, I'll tell them, but oftentimes they don't even know I'm not drinking. I don't
Right.
tend to really advertise it, but it can be really tough for people. And I want to talk about that a little bit because if you do have a group of friends that when you get together, it's just balls to the wall, it's drink, and that can be really difficult.
Yeah. And do you mean difficult for the person not drinking or difficult for the people drinking?
Both.
Yeah, I think so too. Because it is a social norm and it is a shift. when you've been like myself. I'm in several friendship groups where it's been very clear to me which of my friendships were built around maybe surface level, and the activity of drinking itself was the activity, versus what I call heart friends, that drinking was always a part of the mix, but not the primary activity. It was like we were there to connect with each other. But as a person who does not want to be in any way judgmental of others or come across as superior or judgmental, or even me doing what I do and being Sober Sis, and you can see me right now wearing my Sober Sis hat.
I know.
I'm pretty low key as well. I'm pretty incognito because I feel like it's such a personal choice. And if people are watching my lifestyle and want to know more, I'm more than happy to tell them. And I love talking to bartenders and waiters and waitresses about alcohol free options. I love being the change in the world that I wish to see. But I'm not going around trying to change my friends. I'm not even trying to change my husband anymore.
Right.
I've already tried that and that didn't work. So I've let go of that too. The remodeling of our drinking together as an activity. I've done a lot of work in navigating that as well with friends and the spouse that still drinks.
Well, I have it right here. What do you do when your partner doesn't drink? What I love about your program, Jenn, is that you're not preachy.
Right.
This is not preachy. You give information, you allow this to be a very open dialogue. People have choices. Everybody can make that decision for themselves after they've been given the baseline knowledge, right?
That's right.
And I love that. My husband's not going to quit having his bourbon at night just because I'm not drinking. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah, we're on the same page.
And if I would have waited for my husband to stop drinking so that I could stop drinking, I would still be drinking today.
Right.
Hands down.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
If I attached my outcome to his choices, I would still be in the pitcher plant. I would 100% still be. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just denoting if I gave my power to someone else's choices for me, none of us should do that with anything, right? We should make that choice. And I feel the same way with my faith. I feel like it's a personal choice, it's a personal relationship. So I don't go around trying to preach and convince other people either. I just think when we are living our authentic life and being our best self, that exudes confidence and a joy that overflows. And then if people ask you the reason for your joy or the reason for your confidence or the reason, well, good news. I have a reason or two.
Yeah.
And I love to share that. But I'd rather let the lifestyle and the acceptance be what draws people in to even care to ask.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. I think this is really a good spot for us to talk a little bit more about your program, because you technically have two programs, correct?
Well, really three now. I added another one.
Oh, you have three? Did I miss one?
I have a 1, 2, 3 step. I don't have 12 steps. I have 3 steps.
Yeah. Wait, we probably need to talk about this, Jenn, because if you are a person who really is struggling with alcohol, you're blacking out at night, you're drinking 2 bottles of wine, you may need something else.
There is definitely a scope, which I, as Sober Sis, who is not a medical professional, I'm not a therapist, I'm a fellow retired gray area drinker, that I can help women get out of that trap. But you're right, there is definitely a drinking spectrum. In fact, if people aren't sure where they are on the spectrum, they can actually Google AUD, which stands for alcohol use disorder, which is now the new term for alcoholic. That's an antiquated term that has gone out of the medical jargon diagnosis. And instead, your AUD, where are you on the spectrum? And anyone that drinks alcohol is really on the drinking spectrum. You may be as 1 because you just don't even care and you're just, alcohol's like super low in your life, Well, you may be a, 0.5 or 1, it's just not a thing. All the way up to, like, let's say you're a 10, and only about 10%, it's just a stat, only about 10% of heavy drinkers are in the physical dependency stage. So the bell curve, if you will, the majority of drinkers are in the middle. Few drinkers are at the I don't care at all end, unless they're on the far end. And that's where Sober Sis is one of the resources out there that can meet people in that middle, which is, again, where so many people are, but are not yet physically addicted to the point that they need medical supervision or inpatient or all the wonderful things that are offered once you get to that point, which, quite honestly, drinking is kind of a one direction highway. Typically, people don't go down the drinking spectrum. They don't go down the drinking scale and drink less and less and less through the years. If they're still drinking at all, they tend to drink more. That's just the norm.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, from when I started drinking at the older age of 32, 33, I mean, I was a way late to the party drinker.
That really was.
I ended up catching up, overachiever, really want to get it done. So in my 30s, I was like, wait, what do I need to do to drink like everybody else? Oh, okay, I got it. I'm gonna have to build up some tolerance here. And it was not cool building up tolerance as a 35-year-old mom. Not cool. So I minimized that as much as possible, felt a lot of shame, and it created a lot more cognitive dissonance and mental tug-of-war for me, because now all of a sudden I wanted something that I also was trying to play down, but really got excited about.
Oh, and I love your honesty about it,
Oh, for sure.
because you're just saying what everybody thinks.
At this point, I'm out there.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to hide, and I just want to help as many women as I possibly can.
Well, and I appreciate that. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because
Yeah.
I don't really have many secrets either. I do want to talk about your program, because you've got 3 offerings.
Yeah.
I just found out today instead of the 2. So tell us about the 21-day reset.
Yeah, so this is a great starting point. In fact, I even have like a starting point before that. I have a free guide. So anyone listening right now, any female, I really do work with sisters. So this is for women. Again, you guys, if you want to follow me on Instagram and send me a DM, I've got great resources for dudes. Unfortunately, there's not a Sober Bro program out there like Sober Sis. We thought that could be fun if we could find one. We could create like a mixer, but we don't have a Sober Bro quite yet. But you women, you can go to sobersis.com and download a free guide that will help with wine o'clock tonight. Even if your drink of choice is not wine, we just call it wine o'clock. It can be your vodka and lime. So that's really the first step. If someone's like, I don't even know about 21 days, man, I'm just working on the wedding this weekend or tonight, get the free guide. That's a good way for me to start to get in touch with you. Then the 21-day reset challenge. And I call it a reset and I call it a challenge for 2 reasons. We're going to kind of reset your mind. We can't retrain your brain in that amount of time, but we can reset your mindset to look at alcohol differently. And it's a challenge because you're going against your default button, which is definitely drinking more often. So in the 21-day reset challenge, I have a series of emails that I send out for 21 days that cover 21 different topics. And it's really just sharing about the best of what I have found that has worked for me, putting my own stories, my own stuff in there, weaving in a holistic approach, mind, body, and spirit. But again, it's up to the reader. It's up to the person reading what resonates with them. Take what you need, leave the rest. And so the goal is not to change other people. The goal is to help people stay curious and discover inside themselves what it is they really want. So after the 21-day reset, many women come out of that and they're feeling 2 things, I think, after the 21-day reset. I think they're feeling like, okay, that's what I needed. I've reset. I'm not looking at alcohol the same, and that's what I wanted. I think a lot of women are maybe coming out 3 ways. Another woman may come out and go, wow, 21 days without drinking. First off, I never believed in a million years I could do it. I mean, I know physically I can do it because I don't have to drink, but mentally, emotionally, like, wow, I can't believe I did it. It was the connection piece that made the difference. getting to know other women going through this too. And then they want to keep up the momentum. It's a momentum thing. At 21 days, you know your mind is changing, but your brain, just science tells us, your brain chemistry can't change that fast. That neural pathway is still going towards drinking. So this is a key crossroads for people. And then you've got people that struggle throughout the 21 days that drink on day 5, drink on day 17 again, and they're beating themselves up. And it's not like that. In Sober Sis land, one of our beliefs is there is no such thing as a setback. It's truly all valuable feedback. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you're running a marathon and you fall down on mile 17, day 17, you just get back up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. It's not a go back to the beginning, go back to day 1. Nobody's there. Like everyone's moving. It's kind of like in a marathon. You wouldn't go back to the start line if you tripped and fell on mile 17. You keep running forward. So our mindset is not about perfection or ticking off 21 boxes so then you graduate to the next level. It's more about desire and what you want. So if women struggle through the 21-day reset or they felt a great deal of success and momentum, the next step often is what they need. And they're looking for more time to practice, because it really does take practice to create a lifestyle of just doing it over and over again, creating new experiences alcohol free, so your brain can actually understand, wait a minute, I can do things socially without drinking. I can relax. I can connect. It just needs more time to practice. It takes about 90 days to create a new lifestyle, 21 days to break or change a habit, but more like 90 plus days to create a lifestyle. So that's the next step, something called AFL. It's a 10-week online course, which is 70 days of content every day.
Wow.
Every day there's a touch point. I wrote this course at the very tail end of 2019 and the first 3 months of 2020. So right when COVID hit and everyone went into lockdown and quarantine, I just come out of my own lockdown and quarantine because I was writing this course.
Oh, wow.
But God knew that it was just in time for so many women who had gone through the reset at that point, thousands, that there would be hundreds that would want to take that next step. And so AFL has been a second up and running next step for 21-day reset participants. I won't even say grads, because again, it's not about mastering one before you go to the next. It's more about what are your goals. So that's been exciting these last 2 years. And then the third step is I created a community within Sober Sis for these AFL grads, right? So people come out of the 90 days, 21 days reset, 70 days AFL. They come out and they're like, now what's next, Jenn? Now what do you got? How do I stay on track? How do I take these pillars, these modules, these concepts that you've taught me? How do I take it on the road? Like, how do I really live this out? How can I say I have an alcohol-free lifestyle and I love it? So these are women who have the material, but they're 90 days. That's like training wheels still. That's like wobbly. 90 days alcohol free. I mean, you can get blindsided real fast.
Yeah.
With a trigger or a trip or something. And so the quest is my third step, and that's my maiden name. I'm Jennifer Quest Kautsch.
Oh, very good.
And so I named it the Quest, which is kind of cool for me because I loved my last name before I got married. And the quest is exactly as it sounds. It's an expedition. It's like we're going on a quest. It's not, again, for people who have arrived. It's for women who are still exploring. And we've got the movers and shakers and Sober Sis in there. We've got women who are authoring books and living it out. We've got women who are struggling but pressing on. So it's a vibrant community, and that's where I am live every week. I do live Zoom calls in there, and just a lot's going on. So thank you for letting me share, because it really is this stage progression.
Well, a couple things. You are very active on social media, and I think your constant connection with people is such a great reminder to keep people pulled in and directed to their goals. The other thing is, I know you have all this curriculum and it's really fabulous. But it's sometimes just that connection with these women that are really going through the same thing that you're going through that really makes you feel that you're not alone.
Mhm.
That's almost just as meaningful to have that community behind you and cheering each other on. And I would like to talk about the Marco Polo groups. So, are you still doing the Marco Polo groups?
I am. I am. Probably since you joined in 2021, we've made some structure changes to the way I'm using Marco that really keeps people moving forward. But it is all about connection. And we have it in the reset. We have AFL Marco Polo groups. We have Quest topical Marco Polo groups. But Marco Polo, we're friends with the app. Sober Sis and Marco Polo, we're like buddies behind the scenes because I don't know that other groups have utilized Marco Polo quite like we have. I mean, we have gone all in. I call Marco Polo like our secret sauce. Because just like you said, and I so agree with this, there are so many wonderful books and resources and programs and podcasts. I know I've listened to them all, I've read them. They're wonderful, but it's the interaction with others that bring these things to life. Information is information and it's empowering and it's important, but it's the people that you're doing it with and you're learning with and you're modeling your life after and you're wanting to learn from. That's what makes the difference.
Yeah. This is fantastic. And I told you that I have a friend who went through your program, your 21-day reset, and she's still 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years later, she's still connected with her Marco Polo group. And she told me that recently. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, and now we've got the Sober Sis network. We took our private group off of Facebook as the platform for our private group. I still have a public Sober Sis page where I'm active. We took our private group onto a Sober Sis network, which now has like location finders, so you can actually find people in your area. There's just a lot more features to it, and it's more private. There's no ads, algorithms. You're not on Facebook scrolling through, getting triggered with political stuff and this and that, and then like going into Sober Sis land. The connection in the network, we've really seen it go a lot deeper. So that's exciting.
Yeah. I met up with another Sober Sis person that I would never have met had we not been
Yeah.
in the group. And we met up for coffee.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just so you know, that does work.
Yeah.
That people do want to connect because you want to have someone that's in your same area. It's nice.
It's so wonderful to be able to talk to someone who gets it. And you don't have to over explain, you don't have to justify. Getting with someone who just gets it, it's priceless. And I get to watch it every month as new resetters get to know each other on my runway call and just in the Marco Polo groups. People are just so relieved to see that they're not alone, and they look at the screen or look in the Marco Polo group and they realize, wait, there are so many of us that are, I would say, the avatar of a sober sis is someone who's really healthy, really mindful, really successful, really getting it done. On the outside, everything looks really pretty good. And it's when we get into the inside that we show that we're hurting, we're frustrated, we're lonely, we're tired, we're all these things. But from the outside looking in, you wouldn't necessarily know it. And so I think for women to get together and kind of let that layer down and go, actually, no, I am doing good. I love my husband, I love my kids. I've not gotten a DUI, I've not lost anything. My life actually semi seems to be working, but I know deep down it's not. I know it's not because I'm drinking most every night, and that's not working for me.
Yeah. Jenn, this has been so great. I'm a little starstruck because I followed you on social media, and I want to let the listeners know that you are on Facebook and Instagram.
And I just got on TikTok.
Oh my God, I haven't done that yet.
I'm a 51-year-old trying to be relevant on TikTok. So that's always fun.
Oh, I'm going to have to check you out there because I haven't ventured into TikTok land yet, but I will. I think video's the way to go.
It's a different beast, but I've had fun with it. I've only been on about 3 or 4 months. Yeah, I'm at Sober Sis Official over on TikTok and just at Sober Sis on Instagram.
All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put all your contact information in the show notes. So if people want to find you,
Great.
they'll have that just in case they're out for a walk right now or driving in the car. I don't want anybody trying to write stuff down.
Yeah, eyes on the wheel.
Thank you so much for being here today. This was fantastic.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed connecting with a fellow sober-minded sister.
Thank you, Jenn.
Thank you.
Follow Asking for a Friend on social media outlets and provide a review and share this show wherever you get your podcasts. Reviews and sharing help us grow.